Hey everyone, this is Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking to you about hiring the right talent for your Amazon FBA business. We're also going to be touching on what's happening right now in the current Amazon and e-com climate, what's so important about hiring a solid team, and how to become effective at delegation and accountability. All right, welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast.
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm.
I think we got a great topic today. And we're going to be talking about hiring the right talent for your Amazon FBA business. Now, this could also apply to your Shopify business or your e-com business. I got my fingers crossed. Our guest hasn't shown up yet.
He's here.
He's here? Perfect. Okay, perfect. So our guest is the founder and CEO of Multiply Me and Escala. Both companies provide different solutions aimed at e-commerce and Amazon businesses to bring it to the next level. He has a background in digital marketing and advertising and has worked with companies like Mercedes-Benz, Mastercard, Sony, just to name a few. He also hosts a podcast, Successful Scales, where he interviews leaders on what it takes to build a successful, scalable business. My guest today is Yoni Kozminski. And let's see, Kelsey, word from the sponsor. If you're selling on Amazon in 2022, you know how important it is to stand out from your competition. Let Honu Worldwide lend a helping hand with your product innovation to outcompete your competition online. That's right. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the success of your newly innovative product while Honu handles all the work. Visit honuworldwide.com for more information. That's Honu, Honu, worldwide.com, or email savings@honuworldwide.com. Okay, let's bring in the boy wonder.
Hello. How are you doing? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Victoria Day in Canada, Memorial Day in the US.
Yes. It's May 24 here in Canada, so it's good to see everyone.
What? That's what the young people say.
Yeah. I guess
it's Victoria Day.
Victoria Day. That's what the. Yeah. All right. Well, anyways,
Be nice.
Welcome, Wally, to the show. Today we're talking about how to find the right people for you. We've got a bunch of different things we're going to be talking about today with Yoni, so we'll be jumping into that shortly. Anyways, if you're new to the podcast, please smash those like buttons, give us a thumbs up, and if you're watching from YouTube, hit that subscribe button down below. We'd really appreciate that. Also, if you are new to the podcast, we highly recommend you join the Facebook group. That's Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and e-commerce collective. That's where all the updates happen. Anything about the show that you need to know happens in there. You can ask your questions, give advice, tell your stories. It's a great place for the community, and that's where the Beard Nation is. So
we're already getting wheels of Kelsey and Norm. Yeah, there we go.
All right, they're early. So, anyways, thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, over in the comments section, as well as hello, Jessica Rabbit from Florida. Good to see you. We got a couple of Facebook users. And I think we can get started.
So Jessica kind of put me in my place. So I guess it's not Memorial Day in the US. I'm sorry, Jessica. I'm up here in Toronto. I do know it's Victoria Day, as Kelsey would say, May 24. Anyways, happy Memorial Day for next week for all of our American listeners. We got a great show today. So I've known Yoni for a long time. And I think we're going to learn a lot. And this is a critical topic about how to hire people properly and not waste your money. Like a bad hire, somebody that could be possibly a producer. If you don't hire them correctly, it could cost you a ton. So anyways, the screening process, how to delegate, everything we're going to be covering today is going to be very important. So stay tuned. And we also have a giveaway today. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later on. So why don't you get the heck off so I can introduce Yoni? All right. So if you do have any comments or questions, throw them over in the comment section. Sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the show. Where are you, sir?
Here I am. How
You had
doing,
me
my friend?
nervous. You had me nervous. I was going to go and I was going to cover this bloody thing. And then I was going to call you afterwards and say, what the heck happened?
So let me firstly apologize. It was on an offshoot. It was like 10 minutes to 7. And I was like, okay, well, as in my time, 7 p.m., I'm like, I'm used to the schedules blocked at 7. I'm like, shit, I'm running late. And then I realized it was 10 minutes before. So totally my fault. I apologize. I wouldn't miss this for the world. I'm so thankful that you waited for me and that we're here now. So thanks.
Oh, it's great that you could be on because we've been trying to get you onto the podcast for some time. And this is a subject I love. And not that I push any service. I don't have affiliate links, but this is a service that I do use. And I can attest to. I mean, it's very good the way that you have set everything up. So just wanted to let people know that. So
Thanks,
let's just talk a little bit about it. You do have two separate companies, a Scale and Multiply Me. You want to talk a little bit about it? Maybe fill in some of the areas that I might have missed about your background.
Sure. I'd love to. But before I do that, I've wanted to do this for a long time.
What's that?
What up, beardos?
All right, got it.
It's got to be one of my favorite things out of any sort of, I mean, I don't even know how you phrase it. You've really coined the phrase. If you didn't, then it's the best thing. If you did, it's the best thing ever. If you didn't, I don't care. I love it every time I hear it. And so I wanted to say it to the community for the longest time. We're up to episode 293. So anyway, what up, beardos? It's an honor to be here.
Oh, that's great.
Did you coin it?
I have no idea how that started. You know, I don't know. Was it what, Chelsea?
I've got some, I guess, Lunch with Norm folklore. It's actually from one of our audience members, Simon. He's been around with us for a while, and he just started that little, "Hey Beardos, what's up, Beardos?" And it kind of like caught on, and here we are today.
Well, Simon, I literally laugh every single time I hear you say it. I just love it. So anyway, it's an honor to be here. Sorry to create that tangent, but you know, you got to give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
So Simon, thank you for the gift of. It's the gift that just keeps on giving in my eyes. So like you called out, Norm, I did spend about a decade in creative advertising and digital marketing. So my background, you know, I know one of the main topics today is we're hearing, you know, offsite traffic. But before it was marketplaces and offsite traffic, like that was just the way of the world. That was the only way that you could build any real value. So I used to do strategy for Sony and Mastercard, and Mercedes-Benz and Medtronic, always enterprise clients, but from the lens of smaller agencies. So I was the 10th employee. We grew to about, I think 30 in Australia. I was in the US, in LA. We was the 15th. We grew to about 45. And so that was sort of my journey. I've always been closely aligned with e-commerce and more specifically creative advertising. And today, like Norm called out, I have two businesses. I have Multiply Me, which is executive search and HR into the Philippines. So we'll talk a little bit about this and less about the business itself, more about the mindset of when looking to bring on people into the business. We don't hire VAs. And I think that like that is a term that I want to really quash, because the notion of having a generalist that can just deliver anything when you need it, do me some data entry or some, you know, PPC pulls or any information like that, you're not delegating effectively, and you're not giving them the responsibility to deliver on something that is critical to a business objective. So Multiply Me specializes in finding that talent and also helping you build that onboarding, planning, and KPIs and expectations so that you actually are driving in the same direction. So that's Multiply Me, a few different service models, but ultimately that's what we do. Escala, on the other hand, is a process improvement management consulting practice. And while it's a mouthful to say, it does add a lot of intrinsic value into building any sort of serious FBA, D2C, e-commerce business. We work with a lot of aggregators. And what we effectively do is we'll deploy one of our 35 management consultants into the business. We'll interview, shadow, and review everything that's going on, with the ultimate objective to systemize that business based on people, process, and technology. So you're ranked against all the businesses that we've deployed in to understand sort of where you sit in the how optimized you are operationally. And we'll build you that roadmap. So everything from the high level processes and sub processes to the working instructions and activities, full SOPs, training videos and documentation, and what your hiring roadmap might look like for the next 12 to 18 months. So that's Multiply Me in a Scala. And I think that gives a little bit of context, maybe a bit to unpack, just to also give you guys, and this isn't to toot my own horn, this is just more to sort of explain why I'm even relevant to having these conversations that we're going to have today. Is we grew from a team of 4 to over 300 in payroll in about 2.5 years. We're adding somewhere between 20 and 35 people every single month. And, I'd say every other month we build a new function. Like we've just built out our BizOps department, which for a lot of you, it's not even relevant talking about, but when you get to a certain size, it becomes an integral piece. So all the stuff that I'm sharing with you are things that we practice internally. And my objective always is how can I help first? So, when we get into some of these topics, I just really hope that some of the things that I share, you can take and apply into your business.
Okay, very good. All right, so I guess the big question is, we've got a lot of listeners. They're from the beginner right on up through expert. I think the biggest question is for anybody is, when do you know when you have to start to outsource?
Yeah, so I'd say that the best way or the best advice that I would give anyone who's going through that process is really first getting clarity on how do you invest your time. So if it's your first time, if you've never brought in a team member into the business and you're not exactly sure when to do it, I'd say the first thing you need to do is get clarity on 2 things. The first is, what is it that you actually enjoy doing? Where do you add the most intrinsic value to your business? And and you're not going to burn yourself out doing it. So I'm not a numbers guy. I hate finance. And that would be the first thing personally from a delivery standpoint that I would always look to outsource. The other thing is getting clarity on how you invest your time and what is meaningful time delivery. So an exercise that I love to recommend to people is if you block out every single action that you deliver. So if you look at my calendar, you'll see every single hour is accounted for. Even if you're working on your PPC management, even when you're working on, listing creation, images, whatever, supply chain, logistics. I spent 5 hours pulling my hair out trying to understand why the flag was up in Seller Central. Whatever it is, documenting out what that looks like and then reviewing it at the end of the week and understanding what are things that need to be me specifically. And for those things that need to be you that cannot be anyone else, that's a 5. For things that could easily be delegated, that if you built a really simple process or an SOP or just really gave someone the reins, they could get it to 80%. And that's sort of our mindset in a Scala. If someone can take something to 80%, then you should delegate it. 80% of what complete looks like to you should delegate it. So based on that scale, you can start to understand, okay, well, what is the DNA of the person, of the things that I don't want to be doing that's going to add the most value to the business that's taking up the most amount of my time. And that's how I would say you can work backwards to understanding who is the first hire.
One of the issues that a lot of people have, and it was tough, even when I started to do this, it was time. So you're already busy. You're already working, 25 hours a week, and you're trying to get this done. So somebody's listening, they hear you, talking Yoni, and yet it's, where do I even squeeze in the time to figure out how to get this thing done? How do I train this person? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that is a great question. And, it's a real catch 21, catch 22.
Let's say 22.
22, yeah. It's funny. Someone made that joke, I reckon 15 years ago. Not joke. They got it wrong. And ever since then, it's tripped me up. And so I've fallen victim to his, lack of knowledge retention. And ever since then, it's happened. Anyway, so the catch-22, let's correct this wrong here, is that, I'll give you a different analogy. When it comes to meditation, and that's a daily practice for me, I meditate for anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes a day. And most people say, I don't have enough time to meditate. And anyone who can't spend, the person who says that they don't have time to spend 10 minutes a day to meditate is the person that needs it most. So I would say that, you're in a position where everything's on fire all the time, and that can really feel like the life of an e-commerce Amazon seller, where you just have so many critical things to do. You could even just start off by building a task list and looking at something like the Eisenhower matrix, in simply understanding like what is urgent and important and needs to happen now, and work backwards and commit to saying, I'm only going to achieve this one thing today, or these two things, starting to build in those structures. Again, you don't have to have a Scala level processes and SOPs to start to delegate a certain thing. And I'd say, you could also take tiered approaches to it. So again, I don't know what anyone who's listening's cash flow looks like in the business, but a really short-term fix might be, hey, I'm going to leverage an agency and pay them X $1,000 for the next 6 months, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is. While that's happening, I'm going to have more time now to invest in building out my processes, and then I can build my team up, and all of a sudden that transition. So, again, looking at the long-term vision, I can guarantee, unequivocally that every single person listening into this podcast right now didn't build their business so they could work 168 hours a week inside of it. And so if you're sitting here and you're saying, well, I can't go away, can't spend time with the kids, can't do any of these things, then, I'd say you as an entrepreneur, it's fundamentally flawed in terms of how you're designing your life, because you're doing it to build more time, more freedom, and more money effectively. That's three of the key drivers for it. And if any one of those are not actually the reality, then you need to sort of reassess. So I'd say commit to building a process, even if it's a small one, and work backwards in how you build that long-term vision. And again, I fall victim to this all the time too. I just only this week put in the 10-year vision of where we're heading, and it's taken me 3 years of operation to actually start thinking, that far into the future.
Yeah, and we're also going to be talking about a hiring process a little bit later on, but right now, just kind of getting things into place, organizing it. I know for a fact, until I read the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. We bring this up a lot. I went through that E-Myth Academy, and that got me going. I was involved with a hyper growth company at one point. That's where I lost my hair. And, one of the things that I fell into was this entrepreneurial roller coaster where you or, your partners, they're passionate about what they're doing. They don't have time to train anybody. So they hire somebody, they don't hire them properly, and then they don't train. And so that you have to have this, let's say, PPC management or whatever it is. You hire somebody thinking that they're an expert in everything. Then you don't give them the proper training. And then you get mad and you fire them. And you have this thing in your head just saying, I'm the only buddy. I just proved to myself I'm the only person that could do it. And then you get crazy again, and you hire the exact same way and you fire the exact same way. And it's just this roller coaster. And until you can break the cycle, I am telling you this, I know this for a fact because I was there. Until you break that cycle and do things differently and understand the hiring process, but also working and delegating and training, you'll never get this right. And it will be a consistent nightmare. Once you take the time and you do this properly, you will be amazed at how quick, how much the stress will be eliminated from your business. And what you can do is have a life. But one of the things I also want to talk about today is things will not be perfect. And if you think that they're going to be perfect, forget it. If you're going to yell and scream and not allow people to make mistakes, then you're going to have problems. So this is kind of where I want to start. And you said it at the beginning about misconceptions about the VA. So the VA is not only somebody that can do certain Amazon tasks, but they're rocket science, and they can also do brain surgery. That's not the case. And let's get into that. Let's get into the definition. Oh,
So
you're muted.
so for me, I'll say a couple of things on that. One, I think that the term VA, virtual assistant, was sensationalized in the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And so in many ways, and that was probably 15 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, approximately, that it came out. That really did something for entrepreneurs in terms of getting them visibility and understanding that, hang on a second, I can actually have people deliver work at a fraction of the price and free up my time. And so I think that as a baseline, it was an amazing opportunity to get mass exposure into working with countries that were outside of the US or, Australia or the UK or, a lot of these sort of higher income earning locations. Now, I believe, especially in I wanted to call it a post-pandemic world, but a semi-post-pandemic world, however you want to look at this situation. I don't have to do tests going in and out of the country anymore and use the mask on a plane, so I'm good. But anyway, let's not open that can of worms. The point I'm making is that we've all, unless you're in an industry that is absolutely critical that you need to be in the same space, so bars and clubs and restaurants, etc., businesses that are fundamentally geolocation based, you've learned to adapt. You've learned to work with your team in remote environments and run successfully. And I'd argue that for many, it became a lot more productive because things had to have more structure. And so I just want to say that when I think of virtual, it's a globally dispersed workforce that exists today. And that's how I look at it. I look at how much value can be created for the businesses that we're trying to create to support our clients. And that's my definition of who comes in to the operation. I work in a geolocation-based arbitrage model. So, if I start hiring a whole lot of 6-figure people, then all of a sudden the economics don't really work the same that they did. So I just say you should be thinking about anyone that you bring into your business as an integral part, building your culture and your vision. And, whether it's even an agency partner, making sure that you guys are aligned in what that looks like. So, for me, VA and the whole BPO, business process outsourcing model, for me, is ultimately dying a slow death. And it's because people are understanding the capabilities and talent that exists outside of the traditional work pool that lives specifically in the US. And I'll give you one last stat or one last insight, is that right now, when you talk about e-commerce and Amazon related roles, there's an undersupply of talent somewhere in the vicinity of 50 to 100,000 headcount. So we don't have enough people trained in critical tasks to actually deliver on the work. And so that's why looking at it from a macro global equation is going to help you solve not just the financial components, but also just the resourcing components.
So we could go on, for hours on this, but I'd really like to know where to start to hire that team. Outside of going to an agency, like what are some of the action steps people can take to end up finding the right person?
Yeah. So once you have clarity on who that person is, right? I'm not trying to sell Multiply Me, but one of our things is trying to understand like who do you actually need? We actually have a resource center, which I'll drop the link in. It shows a bunch of org charts. We have literally, I'd say at least 50, maybe 100, 200 job descriptions as well for all the roles that you might want to hire for. So again, I'm not trying to sell Multiply Me. That's all free. But ultimately, once you have clarity on who it is that you need to have, a good way of even defining that is setting the mission. So what does success look like if you were to bring this person in? Everything should be baked in or based upon a specific objective and target that needs to be achieved. And so, you can go to the internet, you can sit here and try and find, existing resumes like I'm going to give you guys for free. But I'd argue that while those are helpful to some degree, that's not the solution. So how we approach it inside of Multiply Me is our first objective is how do we build the mission? What does success look like in literally 1 or 2 lines, really succinct. So like, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. Let's say you're looking for a PPC manager. And so their mission is to manage effective Amazon PPC campaigns with a target ACoS or ROAS of X, insert. So they have one mission, and that's, or a launch specialist, launch 10 products each year. A quarter might be aggressive, each year, and have them successful inside of their first 120 days. Like something really to the point where anyone who looked at it, who would be applying or even not applying, they understand straight away what does success look like. So you're already driving in the same direction, both from a candidate perspective, they understand what's expected of them, and also you as a business, what do you want to achieve as the business? So that's the first step. And cut me off here anytime, Norm, because I'll launch into the next.
Nope, go into the next one. Sure.
So once you have a clarity and understanding as to what that mission looks like, then you need to start building out what are the outcomes that this person needs to achieve in order to succeed in that mission. And so the way we use it, and there's a great book called Who, the A Method for Hiring. So you can actually find a lot of this stuff in there. It's an old book, but I'm telling you now, it stands the test of time.
I've never heard of it.
So fantastic book, Norm. I couldn't recommend it enough. And I read that, and on the back of it, we built a lot of our methodology a couple of years ago. So there you go. So on the back of these outcomes, there should be no more from 3 to 8 outcomes. Again, we're not trying to overcomplicate this. And once we understand, like, right, spending X amount of ad spend per campaign, checking, daily or weekly to understand what the budgetary constraints or performance looks like, ensuring that, less than 5% of wasted, spendage, wastage, or things like that. Again, I'm trying to think on the fly here around a role that I haven't had to hire for many years. But then once you understand what are the outcomes that will drive that mission, then when we talk about the search, well, we actually have to look at the attributes. So what characteristics does this individual have to have in order to succeed in delivering upon the outcomes and ultimately achieving that mission? And so, it might be things like, let's say you're looking for Amazon PPC management and you just can't find anyone because all these agencies are paying top dollar and it's really hard to find them. Then you say, well, hold on. They really just need to be really great at analytics. So maybe they've had Google AdWords experience, or they've been in Facebook media buying. They have to be really good at understanding, English language, understanding, what keywords actually make sense. It can be a bit of a creative process, when you're trying to figure out what I should actually be targeting. So mission, outcome, attributes. That's how we build it. And then on the back of that, that's when you move into the job description. That's when you'll fill in all the details. And I'll give you another little freebie. What you want to do when you're going through this interview process is you want to be measuring against what those outcomes and attributes look like. So we have a rating scale, so you can have it from 1 to 10 or A through F or whatever you want to use. Just make sure it's consistent. And then we add comments against it. So every one of our recruiters are going through and we're asking the same questions and we're understanding the same. Because if you think about it this way, if you're going to go through this process and you might have spacing in between, you might interview someone. Today is Monday. You might not have the next 2 interviews lined up for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week because scheduling just didn't work for you. You're going to forget what you asked if you're not writing it down. And you're also going to be effectively unkind to any of the candidates, because very easy for you to launch in and start saying, Norm, we get along, we have this amazing chemistry, but, am I actually really going to be good as your PPC manager? Probably not. So it's really about guiding those conversations. And that is, in my opinion, one of the simplest and most effective ways to guide that conversation.
Great. All right. So question for the listeners. If you've had good, bad, or ugly experiences, I'd love to hear it in the comment sections. Also, if you have questions for Yoni concerning hiring, delegating, anything to do with finding somebody to help work with your company, just throw them into the comment sections as well. Let me see. We also have a giveaway, and I never got to talk to you about it or to Kelsey, but Yoni, can you tell us about the giveaway?
Yeah, really putting me on the spot here, Norm. I don't remember what we offered.
Oh, there we go. Kelsey, do we have a giveaway?
Just go in and jump on and say we didn't have time to talk about the giveaway today, so
What
we're just
what
throwing
I'm
it at
ha-
Yoni.
what I'm happy to
This is
offer.
a first, by the way.
What I'm very I think we just didn't get to it, but what I'm happy to offer is 30 minutes of my time going through your current org strategy and structure and walking you through sort of what would be some key next steps, giving you a whole lot of this material, and just happy to answer any questions to help
That's
you
awesome.
along your way. So yeah, happy
Okay,
to
so
do it.
first of all, that's going to make the blooper roll. And no, I appreciate that, Yanni, because as I was saying it, I just remembered that you had come a bit late and we never had a chance to talk. But that
Serves
is
me
awesome.
right, Norm. Serves
Ah.
me right.
anyway, I'm going to crack up and cough here. But the giveaway is a consult, exactly like Yanni was talking about. Hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and we will definitely give you an extra entry. And that's awesome, by the way. That's a time saver. That's something that is tough to do on your own. And getting insight from an expert like Yanni is worth its weight in gold. So thank you, Yanni, for that. And Kelsey, I think we're going to take a break and go to a commercial. A big thank you to our sponsor, Startup Club, the largest club on Clubhouse with over 790,000 members and growing. They're one of the world's largest communities supporting the startup ecosystem, from founders to those wishing to work for a startup and everything in between. You can find them at www.startup.club for blogs, recordings, and a calendar of upcoming shows, and on the Clubhouse app. Just search Startup Club for daily shows 24/7. You can also now listen to their show, the Serial Entrepreneur Club podcast, on Apple and Spotify too. Stop by to connect, learn, and grow together. All right. So once again, if you have any good, bad, or ugly comments about hiring process, or if you have questions, we will be getting to them in a second, probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Anyways, now probably another very important question is about how do you found somebody, but how do you provide effective delegation and accountability?
Yeah, great question. And while you were talking about the E-Myth, I actually went and pulled up another book in the same realm. I don't know if you can see it the right way.
Oh yeah, I do know that one. Yep.
Traction. It's called Traction: Getting a Grip on Your Business, and it's a methodology for businesses that run from 10 people to 250 people. I'd argue you could even probably start it if you're 5 people. But it is fantastic. So the question that you'd ask me, Norm, is how do you effectively delegate, and how do you make sure that you're ultimately aligned? So I would say that one of the critical things along this entire, when you look at relationships, whether it's your employer-employee, your wife, your spouse, your partner, your children, whatever, everything in life is about communication and having clarity on expectations. And so when going through that process, a term that I've stolen, I went to the EOS conference in Orlando a month ago, and I can't remember who actually said it, but to be unclear is to be unkind. And so I think the first thing that you want to do outside of setting that mission, outcomes, and attributes is, what does success look like? And so we run on Traction, getting back to my whole point here. And the methodology they have is you have quarterly rocks. Rocks are goals. And if you're a senior management, you might have 5 to 7. If you're just a junior in the business, you might just have 3. And so these are the driving objectives that you will achieve inside of that quarter. And then it's broken down further into a scorecard where you're effectively looking to understand if you're on track or you're off track, and you have that inside of your L10 meeting, your level 10 meeting once a week across the business. So how you can effectively do this for your business at home, I'd say the first thing, read Traction. The E-Myth is also great, as Norm called out. It's going to give you a lot of clarity and insights. But how we run it internally is we'll set those 90-day goals and work backwards with the scorecard. How we're checking in is we'll have what we call our 10-10s, where managers will sit with their teams, and they'll go through what are they working on, what did they achieve last week, what are any of the hurdles, and I forget what the fourth one is, but ultimately we ask 4 critical questions. It's what have you achieved, what are you working on, where are you stuck, and then we do start, stop, continue. So the manager will say, start doing X, stop doing this, continue doing Y. So that really helps you. Again, it's about, you actually said something before, Norm, that really resonates with me. And it's not to expect perfection at the start. It's going to be messy. We really preach internally. It's about progress, not perfection. And so even just getting a loose goal, I want to launch one product over the next quarter, and that's someone's responsibility. I mean, that's a big task, right? There's a lot of moving pieces around that. Or I want to find one freight forwarding solution that makes more sense, that is more financially viable than my existing one. Or I want larger distribution channels, or a better ability to get packages to people within 2 days. I want to find a better fulfillment center, or 3PL. Things like that, just defining down some very simple goals and then making sure that you and also your team member are aligned.
Okay. Now, on the accountability side of it, how do you make sure that you're on track that way?
Yeah. So again, going back to the whole VA dispersed teams position, the reason why I first sort of went very anti the whole VA notion and culture is that most people delegate tasks, where if you want to be truly effective, you need to delegate accountability and responsibility. And so what you are doing is you're setting out what the expectation is. So when both of us are aligned and we really understand that my goal over the next 90 days, so let's say that I'm the launch manager. My goal over the next 90 days is to launch effectively this one product. Let's say I've got someone who handles the supply chain and the manufacturing component. My goal is just to project manage the image creation, the keyword research and listings, etc. 90 days, I have to have this product live. So every single week you'd be talking about, well, what are my constraints? What are my bottlenecks with the manager managing them? What are the things that are really holding me back? And so you can then come in as the manager and effectively give them the resources that they need, or the input or the insights. I'd also say what's more, and again, I'm someone who is fiercely protective of my time and my calendar. These are like, it's the one renewable resource that not non-renewable resource that you have when it comes to running your business. You can find more ways to generate money, and you can find more team members, and there's no one is indispensable, and I believe all of that stuff, but time is critical. So just making sure that you are structured and that you have a set time each week, or if you want a 15-minute huddle, depending on how you operate, give them a safe space for them to actually give you that feedback, and have it in a controlled environment would be my word of advice there too.
Yeah, one of the things that we try to do, going back to on the accountability side, and I like how you worded that about the accountability is the task, but quantifiability, or I think that's a word, but to be quantifiable, that was always that always got a little unruly. And until you got a grip on that, you could have SOPs and you can have tasks, but when or are they on track? Let's measure if they were effective, or when do you update it? So we all know about Amazon and their updates. Their interface is always changing. Well, if you've got something or a task or an SOP that you have that's a year old or from 2016, has never been updated, but is used in your training for your team, and there's no accountability or quantifiability, then you could have a problem down the line. So keeping track of that is very important. Also, keeping track of the tools. I'm going to go down a little bit different rabbit hole, but like one of the things that you provide, and one of the things that whenever we're hiring anybody, we need to know is what equipment do they have, and are we giving them the tools to succeed? So if they're using a crappy old phone, a crappy old computer on crappy dial-up Wi-Fi, then you're going to be paying, you might be on a budget and you think you might have got something at a really inexpensive price, but you're really paying more than North American prices, because they're not able to get the work done efficiently. So we get screenshots. And I know that you provide screenshots too in your service, but if we're going independently and we're on online jobs or wherever, we ask for screenshots of whatever they're doing. And if we like what we hear, and even during the probation time, we will get them, we'll make the difference. This is if they have Wi-Fi and we need it to be boosted up, we'll pay for the difference. And eventually, like if they're over a probationary period, we'll just pay for it. The other thing is their computer. If the person works out over probation, we will work out an agreement to buy a computer over time with one stipulation, that if they're with us for over a year, the computer is theirs. If it's under a year, then here's a payment structure that they can pay off. And I have had 2 people leave before the year, and we just let them have their computer. But it's so important.
We do the exact same thing, Norm. That's exactly the structure that we have, is that we say, if you're going to be with us for a year, we amortize it over a 12-month period. If you stay for the 12 months, computer's yours. If not, and I'll say, if you haven't done things like that before, working with talent that is, not in North America, you have no idea what that does to the motivation, commitment, and loyalty to the business. And what for us might seem like a really simple gesture, it just really shows your level of commitment to them, investing in them and their future in the company. So yeah, I'm not surprised, Norm, that's how, what you've done and how you're wired, but definitely, I think it's something that really works, and something for us internally. We're building technology, and one of the first releases on the platform will be an ability to give additional bonuses. And also, I'd say probably late in the year, we're actually going to have the network and infrastructure to be able to facilitate a lot of that stuff as well, because it's just so important.
Yeah, especially if you're hiring more part-time. I don't like hiring part-time, but there are cases that you have to hire part-time. But the worry I have with part-time is just if something comes up, they could go full-time. And we try, for the most part, if we're off of a hiring platform, like I'm just going to say online jobs, and they're coming and they're saying, I can work for you for $3 an hour. Well, I don't like that, because if $3.10 comes up, that contractor, no matter, they could have a family emergency for the day, and what they're, it's just all of a sudden they got $3.10. So I like to up the ante a little bit and say, and also this provides a little bit of security and a little bit of loyalty. That $3 is $5, or the $5 is $7, just so they know that they can depend on the company. And I love what you just said about bonusing out. So if they're doing a good job, $20, $50, an Amazon card or a gift card, you want to make somebody's day. That's how you do it. And probably the biggest thing that I can see, and I've seen people make this mistake, is not allowing or not giving the person working with you the ability to make their own decisions. The micromanaging causes a problem, and by far getting upset with them. With getting upset, especially in the Philippines, and screaming or yelling, or it's just not, it's going to have the opposite effect. You've got to understand, like you said, people are going to make mistakes. Train them, ask them. We have the sort of a 3-step process. Here's this SOP. Here's a gazillion steps. which step, but you come back to me with the solution. And then if it's the wrong solution, we can say, well, why don't we try this? That's number one. The second time, it's an educational thing. People can make mistakes once. They can do it twice. On the third mistake, okay, this task is probably not for you. But that's the way we handle things. And I'm not touting just, hey, patting us on the back, but we need loyalty. And we need, and this also builds the culture of your company too. We want people, like I needed somebody this weekend. I'll be talking about this at the end, but I needed one of our designers to work this weekend. It had to happen. I don't do this very often, but there was no question. He'd put in a couple of hours, and right now I got what I needed for, and I don't like doing it, but if they can't do it, they know they can say, I can't do it. I got family obligations, and they're not going to be, shouted out or, felt bad, feeling bad about not doing it. So anyways, that's a really deep rabbit hole I went down.
But you're spot on. I think, if you even strip it back a few more layers here, like no one's applying for a job, or no sane person is applying for a job, going through an interview process only to not want to deliver on what they've committed to. Everyone wants to succeed in life ultimately. And so, if you take that step back and you think, well, what is actually the inhibitor of not letting this individual deliver on what their goal and mission is? So maybe it is, as you said, they're simply not qualified and they made the mistake a couple of times, and that's not the right person, wrong seat, as they define in traction. So, really, again, not letting emotions override a situation, really trying to understand all the factors that are involved, I think will really stop with those shouting matches. And I'd say, even to your point, like if you're hiring out of the Philippines, shouting ain't going to work. You're just going to get the classic disappearing Filipino act, and no one wants that, right? So, you have to be attuned to different cultural differences, and it's just not, it's not how I like to operate.
Are there any other mistakes people make when they first start delegating?
I think you covered one of the most integral ones. It's like no one's going to be this messiah that comes in and solves every single problem that you have right off the bat. So I'd say a few things. One is you've got to give, like everything, time. You've been running your business for months, years, decades, however long it is. You have all of this IP, and if you haven't actually invested the time in documenting out those processes, it all lives up here. So give them time and build an effective onboarding plan so that they understand, well, what's actually happening in the business? What am I responsible for? But moreover, what's the business actually delivering? And again, even we fall victim to making these mistakes. No one is immune, but I just say, give people enough time to get clarity on what's happening in the business. Let them understand what their role looks like, and make sure that there is some level of processes documented out so that they have something to go back to. We document everything out into a ClickUp wiki where you can literally learn absolutely everything about any one of our businesses. And it does a few things. One is, we have a centralized body of information that anyone can turn to find out how to operate even things outside of their scope. But two, I'm not responsible going through the 100 people that report into me. I've not never once, but in recent memory, I haven't had to sit and manually onboard someone. It totally, expedites the process of you being able to bring in critical players, and those gaps and those conversations are largely diminished. And if we'll go back to the point that I made before, I'm absolutely aggressively fighting for every minute of the time in doing the things that I both want to do, the things that are going to add value for the business, and also I want to do the things that I love outside of the businesses. That's not what defines me. It's a passion in my life, and I really enjoy it, but that is not who I am. So anyway, you were going a little bit deep there, Norm, so I figured I'm going to go a little bit deep as well, and we can just go back and forth. You know how it is.
Yeah. And, one of the things I still, and every day I look at when I'm doing a task, and why am I doing this task? Or, should I be doing this task? And that kind of goes back to a task board that I develop. And that task board has all the different tasks basically. And it's a 10, 100, 1,000, and a $10,000 basically value to it. And they're not assigned to anybody yet. I mean, that's the next step. Then we can start defining who that task should go to. But I'm like, this happened on Friday, I think, where all of a sudden I was talking with Hayden and Vandana, who's both have been on. And it's like, why am I doing this, guys? Isn't this something that somebody else is supposed to be doing? And the other thing was, the question just came up. It doesn't come up too often, but why am I not getting the solution? I don't want to be the go-to person here for how to get it done. I want you guys to find out. This is a different task, by the way, but you have to find out. You come back to me and I'll have some suggestions for you, only if you can't figure it out. So I think that's really important to do, is make sure that if you are delegating and you are building out, even if you have multiple VAs, train your go-to person, your senior project manager, to do exactly what you're doing.
Yep. Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more there. I like to approach hiring senior leadership and then having them build out their teams, because they're going to be passionate about it. They're going to have experience in it, and they're going to do a much better job than I will of it. So why break my teeth on trying to do something that's not in my wheelhouse? That board, by the way, is genius. And it's an exercise, again, coming back to the very start of our conversation of who should I hire first. One of the exercises, and I've not done this myself, but there's a way in which you can structure decisions around how your business operates, and that's by doing a taxonomy of value. So understanding what is the intrinsic value created, and so what's moving the needles. You found a way, Norm, to really look at your business and things that specifically relate to you as well, saying, okay, I'm going to steal that. Next time you'll see that stuck up here.
I can't even see that. I say that multi-syllabic word that you just said. So I'll just stick with Taskboard. Okay. We have a few questions. Kelsey.
All right. And there's still time for the Wheel of Kelsey. So if you write hashtag Wheel of Kelsey in the comments, you will be entered to win a 30-minute consult with Yoni. If you take 2 people, you get an extra entry as well. And yeah, let's jump into some questions.
I delegated that to Kelsey to say, by the way.
Anyways, the pinclasses.com, we've got a question. What is the minimum hours can you hire someone for per week if you have a tiny company?
I mean, I feel like there's no limitation on that word, generally speaking. Again, going back to that exercise and understanding, well, who do I need and what's the most critical task that I need to get off of my plate? That could be 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, whatever. It might be an hour a week. It might be bookkeeping, for example, and just making sure that you're keeping track of all of the expenditure. As it relates specifically to Multiply Me, we only hire full-time personnel. That's sort of the level to work with Multiply Me. Is our model only works on placing full-time talent into businesses. Otherwise, you become more of an agency, and it's a different financial modeling.
Yeah, and we have people that we might not have on for a week. We might have them a couple hours a week, or they'll be full-time. And for example, a high-end, high-quality researcher / copywriter, we might need one article that might take 2 to 4 hours to write, and that's a month.
Yep. Yeah. Also, like even thinking like design projects as well. If you're doing new packaging design for your brand, you don't need to bring on a whole graphic design team and a creative director and an art director and a senior graphic designer. That would be foolish. So also just looking at it from the lens of, is there a finite project attached to this, or is this something that I'm going to need to do in perpetuity?
Right.
Okay. The next one is a comment, but I think it really stood out from Jessica. Every employee is a person first. Every person wants to feel recognized and appreciated. Bonus gestures of all kinds feed those needs. Loyalty results organically. Lovely. So thank you, Jessica, for that comment.
Amen.
Yep.
And we've got a question from Gulam. How do you check behavioral issues and resilience in a candidate?
Yeah, good question. We don't use anything like culture index or things of that nature. Honestly, I don't really like to make decisions based off of a formulaic approach when it comes to things like that. I think the most effective thing and something that many people forget is references. So we invest heavily in checking people's references and understanding, what did the manager think of them? What did one of their colleagues think of them? People are also going to send you sometimes some pretty bogus referrals. We get a little creative with it as well. And so here's a little hint for you. If you're going through this process, we'll actually ask referrals, as in people that have been referees for a candidate, if they have anyone that they would recommend that also knows the candidate that we're interviewing. And so that way you get a less biased approach, or you can even catch people out from just being some, like if I was going for a job and I was like, Norm, can you just help me out here? I'm going to get a call in a minute. And off he goes, So there's lots of different tactics that you can take, but going back to not using culture index or things like that, I think those things like culture index and Colby and, there's literally hundreds of them, maybe not hundreds, but there's lots, have a lot of MBTI. Like we love all of that stuff, but that's more so how do I understand the individual and how do I help them learn, grow, achieve more and be sat in the right seat, not are they going to be granted access to being part of the team?
Okay.
All right. And our last question is from Jessica Rabbit. How do you handle an EE who performed great work, who now has family problems and work is slipping? How much slack do you give them? What do you say? And how do you follow up?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer without actually knowing the individual. I would say, I'm going to paint the picture that I'll answer in that. Let's assume that you've worked with this person for a significant amount of time and that you actually have them as a real character reference. You know that they're committed and dedicated, and this is something out of the ordinary. For me, I always want to make it known. I always want them to understand that, first time, okay, they're out sick, someone's not well, whatever's going on, okay, give them a bit of slack. But I would say if that happens 2 and 3 and 4 more times, then you're starting to see patterning. So the easiest way to avoid all of this is to, at the start, set the KPIs and expectations, be driving toward the same direction. And then if they're missing on them, they know and you know. And so that conversation stops being something that's very sort of tactile or something that's like very much about like how I feel in the moment and the relationship, and more, well, you're actually not delivering. So, spoiler alert, it's much easier to let someone go as well if you both committed to reasonable objectives and they're not delivering.
Very good. Nothing else came in at the last minute?
I think that's it. I just want to add, I put in a link since there's a couple of different recommended books that were mentioned from Yoni and you. So if you follow this link, this will go to our Lunch with Norm section, our group, and we have a giant list of entrepreneurial books that guests have mentioned in the past, and I've added Yoni's, your books, and the E-Myth as well. So check it out. I think there's about 20 books now that have been mentioned. So it's a great resource if you're looking for hiring or just entrepreneurship in general.
Can I just say, Kelsey, you are a machine. It is unbelievable to see the growth of this channel. And, yeah, sure, Norm does a pretty good job here, but I definitely have to attribute a big part of it to you, mate. Really, just impressive live production work. I'm blown away, mate. I know you guys have the same last name, and I know that you... How do I poach him, Norm?
Let me see. I know he's very inexpensive, very, very, very inexpensive. He makes, I won't say a lot of mistakes, but he does a good job. He does an okay job.
But yeah, thank you, Yoni. That means a lot. So I do really appreciate that.
I've got to say, as someone who has a podcast and goes through this journey and sits on a lot of it, it's just, you've nailed it. It's just so well oiled. It's a beautiful thing.
Well,
Awesome.
you haven't seen the Wheel of Kelsey yet.
We
but,
do have that coming up. Yeah,
but I think we have one more sponsor, right?
we do. All right,
Okay.
so I'll head to that now. And there's still time. Get those Wheel of Kelseys in, and here we go.
The Legion is your go-to community where you can learn, grow, and build your Amazon and e-commerce business. As you know, being an entrepreneur can be lonely. Now you can share struggles, build a network, and celebrate your successes. And guess what? Our community is free. All you have to do is head over to our Facebook group to join. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel at Private Label Legion so you can stay up to date with tips, strategies, and advice from other experts in the industry. Okay, remember one thing. To get all this great information, follow us, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get automatic notifications. Hey, before we get to the Wheel of Kelsey, I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to be doing a live session a little bit later today. I think it's at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time with Kevin King. And I don't know if any of you have seen it. We announced this last Friday, I believe, but we got we are F1 fanatics. We love Formula One racing. I couldn't get to Austin last year, but this year the whole family, Kevin's family, my family, we're going to go down. We had bought VIP tickets, and then we got the F1 events. I forget what they're called. Reached out to Kevin and said, "Hey, we have a cabana," and it's the first time this cabana has ever been available, and it's right at turn one. This is the turn. The starts. This is where all the takeovers take place at the beginning of the race, and you can also see the finish line. Anyways, we had to jump on it, yes or no, because it would have been taken right away. So we did. There are a couple of seats available in the cabana. We'll be talking about it. We're going to have a site up. This is it. We've decided that we would do a bit of a mastermind in there. So it'll be Kevin, myself. We've got a couple of other people that are going to be coming, and it's going to be a big networking session. So everybody that attends is going to have to share, something about what they're an expert in, kind of delegating that to everybody. Anyways, it is a kind of a one-of-a-lifetime experience. It's not for everybody, but if you are interested, we'll be putting that information up a little bit later on, and we'll add the website a little bit later. So I think there's 12 seats that are available and 3 standing, and we're about 70% sold. It's in October. The only reason why it's a rush for us is because there's 12 seats. We have to book. You have to book your hotels because the hotels get eaten up fairly quickly. So we're going to be talking a lot more about this at I think 3:30 Eastern Standard. If you're interested, this isn't a push. This was more like a fun thing that we were doing. And we got some really cool things going on, by the way. We're going to Green Day, VIP tickets to Ed Sheeran, and we've got some dinners planned. So if you want to join
cigars.
us, and we're buying all the cigars for anybody who wants to join that nasty habit. and the drinks.
I got that email, and I was like, this is quite possibly the greatest thing I've ever seen. I mean, what is better? You got Ed Sheeran, you got cigars, steaks, and F1. I mean, you guys have just nailed it. And now hearing that it's literally turn one, the turn. I mean, come on, guys. It sells itself.
It's absolutely nuts. So anyways, this is something that started out with our family and now is turned to our community of family. So
bidders, if you will.
Yeah, if you'd like, join us. You can tune in at 3:30. So enough said. I just wanted to let everybody know that is available. Okay, Kels. Now, Yoni, you've never seen the Wheel of Kelsey. Turn down your headphones a bit because you're going to jump.
All right, here we go.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
Okay, here we go.
Right. Okay, thank you everyone for entering today's Wheel of Kelsey. We do this every single podcast. I'm going to shuffle up these names, and here we go. Let's see who the winner is. If you are the winner, please email me k@lunchwithnorm.com. And it looks like our winner is Rad.
All right, rad.
Rad.
All right, so again, email me k@lunchwithnorm.com. Rad, I have all your information, so this should be an easy one to connect you with Yoni. And I think that's it.
Hey, I hear that Near says here that he heard that you're going to be taking him to the F1. So that's awesome, Yanni.
yeah, mate. The Milky Bars are on me.
All right, there we go. Okay, Yanni, thank you so much for being on the show today. If you can, stick around for a second after you. It's going to look like you're out of the podcast, but just stick around for a second. And
Oh, yeah.
I think that's it. You were awesome.
And
Yes.
Yanni, how can we get a hold of you if
that's
people are
one
interested?
thing.
Yeah. If you want to get if you're looking for a Multiply Me or a Scala, there's literally booking links to connect with Kat on Multiply Me or Lippy through We Are a Scala. If you're looking for me specifically, let me try that again. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to me there. You can email me, Yoni, at either one of those, Multiply Me or We Are a Scala. Also, obviously, pretty active with my emails. You'd hope so. So, yeah, that'd be the best ways to get me.
Good catch, Kels. I almost forgot about that. All right. So thank you for being on the podcast today, Yanni. I'd love to have you back.
Love to come back. Thanks for having me. It was awesome. And I hope, as always, it added a little bit of value. Someone took something that they didn't know and can now apply it to their business.
I'm sure you did. I know I did. So anyways, thank you again. All right. So Kels, we have, I think it's Janelle coming on next, isn't it?
That's right. Janelle is coming up. Janelle Page. She's coming Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, so make sure you're there. We're still deciding on the final topic, but we're pretty sure we're going to be talking about video content and how you can apply it to your Amazon business.
All right. If you do not know Janelle Page, look her up. She's an absolute superwoman. I met her. Actually, I think it was my second conference I ever went to. And I met her. She was speaking on stage, and she's just this branding guru. I love her. I can't wait to get her on to the podcast. Believe me, this is a podcast you want to listen to. I know there's a couple of topics that we're going to be talking about, but either of these topics will blow you away. So stay tuned. That'll be on Wednesday, and can't wait to talk to her. So I think that's it for now, Kels.
That's right. So if you haven't yet, join our Facebook group, Lunch with Norm, Amazon, FBA, and eCommerce Collective. It's growing every day. I think we're at 2.6 thousand members now, so we've got a great community there. It's awesome hanging out, interacting with everyone, and making some friendships along the way, which is always lovely. And don't forget to smash those like buttons. Give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. Also, a reminder to our Patreon members, we have our Q&A session tomorrow, so make sure you're there. We're going to be having a Q&A session with Norm and I, and I think that's it from us.
Okay.
If you have any questions at all, feel free to email me, k@lunchwithnorm.com. If you have topics, certain guests you want to have back on or want me to reach out to, I'm fully open to those. So always open to connect. And yeah. Oh, I forgot to add,
What?
we recently did a guest article with Multiply Me, so you can check that out. I put the link during the show, but if you go to lunchwithnorm.com and go to our blog section, you'll find the newest blog up there, so definitely check that out.
And remember, and I think this was very important during the podcast today, Yanni was talking about going to his resource page. There's job descriptions. There's all sorts of org charts. Take advantage of that. They're absolutely free. So, this is something that could save you a lot of time. And I think that's about it. The only last thing I'd have to say is because of Patreon tomorrow, if you've never checked it out, there's a bunch of people within the community that have, it's 100% just content. It is a paid subscription, but it ranges from $3 and up. Buy Kelsey a cup of coffee. It's well worth it. we try to deliver 10 times more than what it's worth. So anyways, if you are interested, go to our website and check out the Patreon page. I know that we are talking about some stuff tomorrow, so I'd love to see you there. And on that note, join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. And like we always like to say, we have a great community. This community, I mean, even in our Facebook group, our community, I don't know a community that engages more than our community. And, we love it. We couldn't do this show without you. And we will see you on Wednesday. Remember, Janelle will be on. Check it out. It's going to be awesome. And we'll see you on Wednesday.
Lunch with the